This video is on Form 3CA, 3CD, which is applicable in case of a person who is required to get its accounts audited under any law other than Income Tax Act 1961. This form can be used by a chartered accountant who is registered on the e-filing portal and one who has been assigned the form by the taxpayer. Let us first look at the prerequisites for filing the form on online portal. Both chartered accountant and the taxpayer should be registered on the e-filing portal and should have valid username and password. Taxpayer should have either the active digital signature certificate or a facility to generate e-verification code. The taxpayer must have assigned chartered accountant for Form 3CA, 3CD, and the chartered accountant should have active digital signature certificate. Let us look at the form at a glance. Form 3CA, 3CD has two sections. The first page lets you navigate to Form 3CA and Form 3CD. Form 3CA is the audit form filled by the chartered accountant for details of the taxpayer being audited. CA has to first fill in the details in Form 3CA to proceed further to fill Form 3CD. In Form 3CD, chartered accountant enters the particulars required to be furnished under Section 44AB of the Income Tax Act. Form 3CD is divided into two parts. Part A contains Clause 1 to Clause 8A, which requires the chartered accountant to furnish the basic details of the taxpayer. The user can move ahead only once Part A of the form has been filled and saved. In Part B, there are Clauses 9 to 44. Particulars of all the clauses are required to be filled here. In order to access and submit Form 3CA, 3CD, taxpayer is required to assign the form to chartered accountant and then accept the submitted form through the online mode. The chartered accountant, however, is required to fill the form through offline utility only. In order to assign the form to chartered accountant, the taxpayer is required to log into the e-filing portal using user ID and password. On the taxpayer's dashboard, click on e-file and then income tax forms and then reach to file income tax form. On file income tax forms page, the taxpayer is required to select Form 3CA, 3CD and click on file now. If the taxpayer has already assigned a chartered accountant, the details of Form 3CA, 3CD pending with CA for filing or acceptance will be displayed. If chartered accountant is not assigned, then the taxpayer can assign a chartered accountant by choosing from the existing list of previously assigned chartered accountants from the link existing CAs. In case no CA has been added, the taxpayer can add the CA by clicking on Authorize Partner tab on the dashboard and then reaching My CA and Add New CA. For more information on how to add a chartered accountant, refer to the user manual and FAQ available on the e-filing portal. Now, in order to assign the chartered accountant, the taxpayer is required to go on Form 3CA, 3CD page and click on Filing Type and Assessment here, then assign chartered accountant, attach supporting documents if any and click on Continue button. On assignment of chartered accountant, a success message will be displayed along with the transaction ID. The taxpayer is requested to note the transaction ID for future reference. Coming to step 2, where the form is accepted and filed by the chartered accountant. In order to accept and file the form, the chartered accountant is required to log into the e-filing portal using its user ID and password. On the tax professional dashboard, under the Pending Actions tab, in the work list, pending items will be displayed. Under For Your Actions tab, the chartered accountant can click on Accept against Form 3CA, 3CD, which has been assigned by the taxpayer. First of all, the form will be accepted by the chartered accountant. So on acceptance by chartered accountant, a success message is displayed along with the transaction ID. The chartered accountant is requested to keep a note of the transaction ID for future reference. Now, in the chartered accountant's login, under the Pending for Filing tab, the chartered accountant is requested to click File Form against Form 3CA, 3CD and click on Continue to Proceed. After clicking on Continue to Proceed, the chartered accountant can download the offline utility, fill the form using the utility and create a JSON file. After creating the JSON file, the JSON is required to be uploaded on the online portal and attachment of necessary supporting documents is required, and then the chartered accountant can click on Submit button. Now click the checkbox I do not have UDIN or I will update UDIN later and click on Proceed. After clicking on Proceed button, the Chartered Accountant is required to e-verify the form. After successful e-verification, a success message of submission by CA is displayed along with the transaction ID. The Chartered Accountant is requested to keep a note of the transaction ID for future reference. After the form has been submitted by the Chartered Accountant, it is now required to be accepted by the taxpayer as step 3. The taxpayer is again required to log in to the e-filing portal using the user ID and password. On the taxpayer's work list, under the Pending for Acceptance tab, the taxpayer is required to click on Accept against Form 3CA, 3CD uploaded by the Chartered Accountant. On accepting the request, you will be taken to the e-verify page where you can verify using digital signature certificate or Aadhaar OTP. Refer to How to E-Verify user manual to learn more. After successful e-verification, a success message is displayed along with the transaction ID and acknowledgement receipt number. Please keep a note of the transaction ID and acknowledgement receipt number for future reference. You will also receive a confirmation message on your email ID and mobile number registered with the e-filing portal. Now let us look at some of the do's and don'ts for filing Form 3CA, 3CB. In order to avoid errors in form filing and verification, kindly ensure to use the latest version of the utility for generating JSON. Also, please ensure that the PAN of the taxpayer, assessment year, CA membership number, form filing type are correctly entered in the utility and selected on the portal. Please also ensure to install the latest Signer application in your system and log in the DSC token. You must also check that the profile and contact details are updated in taxpayer and CA login, and localhost eMudra is not blacklisted by the system admin. Also, please ensure that eMudra token driver is updated. In order to know more, you can always connect with us or visit our website www.incometax.gov.in.